What is going on, everybody? It's your boy 3MG, and look, we're back with 3MG Stories. I apologize. I've been slacking on y'all, man. All last year, I fronted on y'all. Yo, I got another video. I apologize for not bringing it to you sooner. But look, it just came to my mind like, oh, shit, I should talk about this. You know, that whole Logan Paul video where he showcased the body and everything, you know, condolences and whatever with that person and their family, whatever. But it just came to my mind of something that happened to me in the past, and I want to share with you guys today. And of course, Cousin Andy has to be fucking involved. So let's get started. Now this was years ago, and it had to be like 14, 15, 16. It had to be around that age because from what I remember, I was still living in this small apartment. Like, this apartment was so small that I was living in since I was a baby, that it was right next to a cemetery too. It was kind of creepy, but this apartment building that I used to live in, it only fit like maybe 20 people in this building, 20 like apartments and shit. But basically I had like my own little room. My mom had her own room. It was a small apartment, little nice place, whatever. And then I think right when I graduated high school was when we moved over to, like, you know, my uncle's place, which I call him my uncle, but he's like a family friend, a longtime friend. And then we moved to the first floor, which is where you was watching all my videos, you know, showcase. I lived on the first floor of that house. But basically in that old apartment, I knew I had to be young. That was at the time that I was super active at the park, playing sports, playing handball every single day. And of course, my cousin Andy would always be around with me. We would play handball for hours, and he used to stay over the house a lot. And we both had an Xbox 360, a PS2, PS3. And I remember, I think that night that we discovered this shit, we was playing Xbox. But let me just run you down through this whole timeline. So the apartment I used to live in, there was a lady who lived downstairs called Lynette. Her name was Lynette. She was a sweet lady, sweet, nice lady. Yo, she was making banging ass cake, yo. She used to cook some banging ass cake. She soon moved out. Years after, she soon moved out, and some old gentleman moved in. I don't know who he was. He never really spoke to us. He used to just leave and come and go as he pleased, and he had an aide with him. So I never, you know, really talked to them. You know, she would come in, I guess, once a day or once a week to check up on him. And me and Andy knew of him because we would see him not only at the apartment, but at the park. And the thing is, this guy never bothered us. He never complained. He never made any complaints. He never bothered me and my mom. No one. He was an old guy, had an aide, whatever. And it's weird. I don't know if you guys ever had this weird feeling happen to you, but like, for some weird reason, you put so much focus into like this one particular thing or person, right? Or something. And every time we would hit the park, we would see him there. You know, he would walk there, I guess, and then he would sit down on the bench for a couple minutes or so, maybe even an hour. Then he'll get up and, I guess, walk back home. You know, it was like a little bit of a walk. It was like a 15-minute walk, 20-minute walk from my apartment to the park. And, you know, he never bothered us. Me and Andy used to be at the monkey bars and shit. Used to like do pull-ups for fun, and then we would then go back to the handball courts, you know, mess around. But he would never bother us. We would just like look and just be like, whatever. But for some weird reason, I always like focused on him. Like, yo, I don't know. Something just seemed weird. One day, me and Andy, we come home, we played handball, whatever. He went to his crib, he showered. I showered in my crib. He came over, and I believe he stood over the crib. We in my room, we playing some Halo, whatever. And I remember because that was that game that we used to spend hours on playing co-op. If not, I don't think it was Call of Duty unless it was like zombies or something. And we're just playing games. I remember we just side by side, we just playing. And weird enough, like, we hear this big doom like hit the floor. It was like midday, I think, or late. It was like, I think it was late actually. Now here's what's creepy. As soon as that body or whatever at the time, because we wasn't aware, had hit the floor and it made like this crazy sound, like this hard hitting sound, Andy instantly looked up and said, nigga, that should sound like a body. Somebody just died. And it made a joke. And we just started laughing and continued to play. That shit was weird, bro. And then we just continued to play. You know, we didn't give a fuck. We was just playing. For some reason, each and every day that passed, I didn't see the aide come over. The aide never rang any of our bells. The aide never contacted the super of this apartment to where the super could have then asked us questions. So that always raised questions to me too, because I was always like, I always told my mom, you ever seen that old dude ain't walk out yet? She was like, nah, I don't see nothing. His windows were shut, which is weird because his kitchen window was always halfway open. Everything was closed. About a week, 2 weeks in, we started smelling something. And like I said, man, at night, I always thought about him for some weird reason. He was always in my head, like, from that park. Every time he was religiously going to the park as I was religiously going to the park to play handball. He was always there at the bench. So I'm just like, damn, whatever happened to him? And then one day we just start smelling like some weird funky ass shit, and it didn't smell like dog shit. And I was like, ugh. something smells weird. Like something really just smells funky, whatever. And Andy would be like, yo, man, your fucking apartment building stinks like shit. And I was like, man, yo, I don't know what's going on. We mopped our staircase, our area, because it was like a small apartment building. We mopped our staircase, whatever. Still smelled like ass. We knocked on his door. We knocked on the neighbor's door. We were not, and everybody's like, no, we don't know. But he would never open up his door. So I figured he don't want to be bothered, or he probably left, or he whatever. But we still continue to smell some shit. We contacted Super like, yo, what's going on? He rang the doorbell. He was like, nah, I don't see nothing. We even tried to like put our foot at the window, but we couldn't see nothing because the damn curtains were closed. We couldn't see nothing. Soon enough, I was like, yo, Andy, I think there's something wrong. He was like, yo, but bro, we should call the cops. And I was like, are you sure? He was like, yeah. He said, nigga, low-key could be slumped. He said, nigga could be in the floor dead right now. I'll say, yo, man, whatever, nigga. So we just start laughing it off. Soon after, maybe a month rolls by, it starts smelling real awful, man, in the house. It smells extremely bad. And this is where we knew something was wrong. We went to his door. As soon as we went to his door, we was like, oh shit, like the aroma was so bad. And we went, and it's crazy because, you know, some apartment buildings have like the metal doors. So we went by the creak of the metal door, and as soon as we smelled, and I remember correctly, I put my fucking nose on the door. Ew, God. I put my nose right on the door and I said, yo, smell from right here, go down to the doorknob. So, and that's where you felt like a little bit of breeze because, you know, the door was a little, you know, whatever, however that was, the breeze would come slip out from the crack. So, damn. So I was like, oh my nigga, like it smells like fish, is like old rotten fish. And I'm like, yo, that shit crazy. And he goes, yo, that nigga dead. That nigga's dead. He was like, yo, that nigga's dead. That nigga done. I said, yo, you sure? He goes, call the cops, man. So the Super came. Super goes, yo, there's something wrong here. So he then called the cops. The cops show up. Andy's upstairs whipping up a sandwich. And, you know, he's making this shit with a little hero, hoagie, however you guys call it. And then all of a sudden, the cops, they break open the door and they were like, yep, we got a body. And I said, for real? I said, oh shit. And so they started asking us questions, you know what I'm saying? And before we went inside to see it, because the cops was like, you probably know him better. Maybe if you guys want to go, and they were friendly, weird as fuck, white cops too. They're like, if you guys want to go inside, maybe check to see something because you guys probably know better than us. The Super said, yeah, they've been living here. Me and my mom's been living here for years. They know the apartment, you know, the way, you know, better. So we went in to see if there was medication somewhere, if there was like an aid, a number, paper. Weirdly enough, his house was spotless. No medications was like near the tables. No receipts, no numbers to anything. So I was always blown away, and I was always like, dude, why the fuck? And while I'm looking, this nigga's right there on the floor. So he was on the floor like this. I swear to God, he was like this on the floor. I think he fell off his chair. There was like a little kitchen table when you walk in, and there was a chair, and he basically fell off. Now, one thing I find weird is that he fell off, but his body was rotated differently. So he must have then fell, turned around while he was on the floor or whatever, must have caught a heart attack or something. But he was like this. So I'm like, damn, he basically lied down perfectly. I think he was like this or something like that. Weird enough, that looks like the body's, you know, silhouette. But he was like this, and all you seen was like a pool of blood, which is another weird thing. A pool of blood that was around him, and it looked like jello because his shit done like froze or whatever, because his crib was kind of cold. And it was weird because it was in the summertime, and it was like kind of cold. There was no flies around him, no nothing. It was just weird. His body was cold as fuck. Again, he was a black old dude, but his skin looked purplish. So the cops put their gloves on. They were like, yo, he's freezing. Like, he is fucking cold. That's what happens with a lot of bodies. They get hard or whatever the case is. But they say, yo, he's like cold as shit. And yeah, of course he's dead. But it was weird because they then, when people came in, they picked up his body and it looked like jello. It ripped, the way it ripped off the floor. And I was just like, oh my God. And who the fuck comes walking in? Andy. Andy goes, man, I'm hungry. And I said, what? And the cop goes, me too. And I don't know what the fuck was wrong with y'all niggas. And Andy walks right over him, eating a hoagie or whatever you call it, a fucking hero. He goes, damn, I knew that nigga fell. Like, I knew he fell, man. He was like, damn, I knew that was him, yo. And the cops goes, what? So they start asking us questions. He goes, yo, we was playing games one night and we hear a big ass thump on the floor. But I can't get over it in my mind that Andy, this nigga walks over him and goes, I told you that was him. I knew he was dead. And I'm like, nigga is eating a sandwich over homie's body. I swear to God, I couldn't eat that day. I was so grossed out. Andy was out here cooking that shit, cold cuts and all. Nigga had mayonnaise, everything. He was eating the fuck out those sandwiches. And he was like, yo, that nigga stink. And I'm like, yo, Andy, get the fuck out, Andy. Get the fuck out. Cause Andy was too goofy, man, at that time. And yo, the cops just felt bad for the old dude. The shit was so crazy that when those other people came in to take the body, when they lifted him up, his body didn't move. He wasn't dangling. You know, of course, he was like already frozen stiff. So when they lifted him up, he was like stuck like a sculpture. And like he was just frozen and shit. So that shit was kind of crazy to me, man. And ever since then, once we decided to move out, I just felt creeped out, man. You know, the cemetery right next to that apartment, the fact that he, you know, died and he croaked, and it just never left my mind at that time. Like, yo, we could have legit helped him had we knew, and you know, how we had that kind of like sense of awareness that when you hear a weird kind of fall like that, it might mean that somebody needs some help. And we just never went down there. But another thing that, you know, the cops were asking was like, if he has an aide, how come the aide never notified police? How come the aide never notified the super? So me and Andy was like, yo, my nigga, the aide did it. That aide, because some people who know what aides are, they come over to the person's house, they see what they're doing, they're carrying whatever, and then they leave. Aide never showed up. Aide never came through, never rang doorbells, nothing. So we just found that shit extremely odd. But I felt bad for the old man, yo, because I don't know if he had a family or whatnot, but he wasn't no bum. Like, we didn't live in the projects, we didn't live in no crazy thing. It was like a regular small, like, you know, apartment building. And he wasn't a bum dude. Like, he was just an old guy, just a regular old guy. But that shit was sad, man. When I seen that shit, I said, damn, that shit crazy. Like, he was stuck on the floor. And the blood, and that's another thing too. How hard did he hit the floor? Because if that chair was right there, his stick and everything just seemed weird. His cane was aligned at a certain, like it looked too perfect. Like, did somebody put the cane there? And the way he's laid out, it just didn't seem right. And the fact that he was all bloody. So I'm like, I don't know how that works. I don't know if somebody's dead for several days. Do they just start leaking? I don't know how that works. Or maybe from the fall, maybe he started leaking. But then again, I did hear like a hard fall. But just how hard of it was. Like, I always ask that question, man, when that shit comes to my head. I'm like, yo, how hard was that shit? I don't know. All I know is Andy was so good. He was like, yo, I'm full. You trying to go to the park? I said, nigga. Yo, man, this nigga, dog. And Andy got problems. Andy did not give a fuck. Andy ate. He was like, damn, that shit crazy. And he would talk about it like he felt some type of way. But I'm like, yo, you remember he ate a sandwich over him? He was like, yeah, I was hungry. What the fuck I'm supposed to eat? He goes, man, I was hungry. Or else I wasn't going to be able to play handball. I'm like, man, get the fuck out of here. I wanted to share that story with you guys because it was just so weird, man. Like, my mind then versus my mind now is so different. At that time, I would have laughed. I would have just not laughed at the body, but laughed like, oh shit, my dude, yo, we just see the dead body. And then now, if I would have seen the dead body, I would be more like, damn, man, I feel so bad for the family. It's just crazy how we all change, you know, as we get older. But I just wanted to share that with you guys. Andy, fucking goofy ass bastard. I got more stories with Andy, man. If you guys want to hear more, please like this video, comment below, and if you are new, hit the subscribe button. But as always, God bless every one of you guys. I'm out of here, and ladies, peace. I also forgot to mention that the same night that we believed that was the body that fell on the floor, we also heard the door close from the apartment.
Oh yeah, I told you, the weather's cold, we're getting older, things even change.